The girl gained the dark power of the god of death and time, able to hear the desperate soul cries of believers. Yet her soul comes from another world, becoming a commoner girl, pretending to be nobility. Facing suspicion and testing from true nobility, this dangerous soul weaves perfect lies at Cyril Magic Academy with cold wisdom and cunning methods. She easily crushes her classmates with post-industrial revolution knowledge, obtaining a noble lifestyle through empty promises like a con artist, draining her classmates' wallets, buying off little beggars as her pawns, hiring fallen swordsmen as her minions. Even more chilling is she dares to impersonate an evil god's messenger, responding to believers' prayers, secretly developing her own evil forces. Every smile hides calculation. Every word is a carefully woven trap. However, retribution has finally come. The 12 paladins who specialize in purifying evil suddenly descend upon Cyril. Their arrival makes this dark girl feel fear for the first time. At the Academy dining hall gathering, Sylvie engages in a battle of wits with the paladin captain. She uses smiles and clever lies, successfully disguising herself as a pure princess from Mistland. Even the Stone of Judgment is deceived by her cunning. Just when she thinks she's escaped punishment once again, the paladin captain personally pours her wine. At that moment, she feels death's calling. Is this wine the end of her sins or the beginning of another conspiracy? The evil girl must finally pay for her deeds. Even though the girl knows there's something wrong with the wine in her cup, she can't just pour it out. After all, the one who poured this wine for her is a paladin. If she dumps it or refuses to drink, it will arouse the paladin's suspicion, and her identity as a dark god's chosen will definitely be exposed. She can only look for an opportunity to secretly spill the wine from her cup. Sylvie lifts her cup to her lips, tilts her head back, and drinks it all in one gulp. The bitter wine slides down her throat into her stomach, suddenly bringing a burning sensation. Sylvie sharply looks toward Athena, only to find Athena is also looking at her. Both their eyes flash with a hint of hatred. Sylvie had just taken the opportunity to switch wine cups with Athena, but there's actually poison in her cup. When did Athena notice she wanted to switch cups? And when did she put the poison in? Sylvie puts her hand under the table, clenching it into a fist. The burning pain from her back drives away all her rationality, making it completely impossible to think calmly. She grits her teeth, forcing herself not to let the wings on her back burst out, while maintaining a serene smile on her face. Aldrich finishes his wine and bids farewell to the headmaster and the two professors. The headmaster and professors escort him out of the dining hall. Finally, the footsteps of the four fade away, seemingly reaching the staircase and going down the steps. Gradius is the first to stand up. You all continue. I'm leaving. She frowns deeply, kicks her chair aside, and strides toward the door. It seems she has strong opinions about this luncheon and doesn't like staying here at all. Sylvie also supports herself on the chair back and leaves the table, smiling at the remaining people. Please take your time, everyone. I'll excuse myself first. She quickly walks out of the dining room. Dabbing pain in her back grows more intense, and she can even feel something protruding, pushing up the clothes on her back. At this rate, she won't be able to leave the Academy dining hall before showing her true form. Sylvie's gaze sweeps over the rooms on both sides of the corridor and spots a wine storage room. She quickly pulls open the door and hides inside. The dim storage room is filled with wooden barrels. Near the door, wine is spilled all over the floor, and there are two upright, already opened grape wine barrels. The rich aroma of grape wine permeates the air. Sylvie shakes her head dizzily and walks over to lift the lid of a wooden barrel. Under the lid, a girl reveals sharp, canine teeth, making threatening wolf-like sounds from her throat. Gradius, a werewolf. Sylvie's numbed brain takes 3 seconds to react, and she says hoarsely, "Don't be afraid." She puts the lid back on, turns around and leans against the half-height barrel, supporting herself with both hands on her knees, breathing heavily. The wings on her back can no longer be suppressed. With a tearing sound, a pair of huge white wings, the wine in her belly is like a potion that catalyzes desire, making it impossible for her to control her thoughts. Corruption and redemption pull at each other alternately. Destruction and survival intertwine and entangle. The white wings also begin to gradually turn black from the edges of the feathers. What kind of drug did Athena use? Why does it feel like being addicted to poison? At this moment, the sound of the door opening suddenly rings out. A figure slips through the door crack and closes the door behind them. Golden hair stands out even in the dim storage room, but those azure blue eyes are tinged with a hint of crazy redness. Sylvie lifts her heavy head. Everything in front of her seems covered by frosted glass. She vaguely sees a pair of dark red wings sprouting from behind the figure, wingless, with thin finger bones stretched over thin membranes, like bat wings. On top of the head, there's also a pair of red-pointed horns, emanating an aura of desire that draws people into corruption. Sylvie looks at Athena in a daze. Athena also looks at Sylvie groggily. "Crown wings, you're a divine messenger of the goddess of life." Athena staggers a few steps inward. Her weak body suddenly falls forward and kneels on the ground. Sylvie's legs are also going weak, but she props herself up against the wine barrel, staring at the swaying Athena. "You're a succubus." Athena shows a fierce expression, supporting herself on the ground trying to get up, but her body is too weak to exert any strength. She can only stare at Sylvie with vicious eyes, while behind her a snake-like tail probes around in the air, like a poisonous scorpion, looking for the right moment to strike. "You switched my wine." Athena's gasping voice is extremely seductive. Even though her eyes are so venomous, her voice makes people feel weak all over, like a soft, boneless siren seducing her chosen prey. Sylvie swallows in her throat. You also switched my wine. In an instant, both understand what happened. They both thought the other's wine was the problem-free wine, so they both took the opportunity to exchange wine cups. Athena created an opportunity to switch her wine cup with Sylvie's. Sylvie then seized the chance to switch her wine cup with Athena's. Back and forth, they ended up drinking their own original cups of wine. Sylvie exhales a breath of stale air, so the paladin tampered with every cup of wine. Athena suddenly leaps up, her sharp claws stabbing towards Sylvie's throat. Anyone who knows my secret must die. Sylvie grabs the wooden barrel lid and blocks forward. The 2-inch-long red nails pierce through the barrel lid and get stuck in the tightly structured wooden part. Athena cries out in pain. The wooden splinters sticking up from the lid pierce into her most tender nail beds. The pain of fingers connecting to the heart makes her vision go black. She retreats several steps and forcefully pulls her nails out. This attack has drained all her strength. Athena falls to the ground, looking at Sylvie viciously. I should have killed you back then, Sylvie gasps. Kill me? Athena, you don't have that ability. The resistance just now also exhausted all her strength. Sylvie slides down against the wooden barrel and finally sits on the cold ground. Athena, aren't you a follower of the goddess of love? How did you become a succubus? What about you? You're clearly Queen Isis's daughter. How did you become a princess of Mistland? When did I ever say I was Queen Isis's daughter? If you're not her daughter, how can you have stork angel wings? Only among the descendants of the goddess of life Isis would someone grow crown wings. You also said descendants of the goddess of life. In your mind, is Queen Isis the only descendant of the goddess of life? Athena presses her lips together, unwilling to answer this question. Admitting she mistook someone would be like admitting she's a joke. Athena, whose descendant are you then? Let me guess, you have succubus physical characteristics. Are you a descendant of succubi or a follower of the god of dark desires? The god of dark desires is an evil god whose authority opposes that of the goddess of love. His divine messengers are succubi. Descendants of succubi might inherit succubus bloodline, receive blessings from the god of dark desires, and similarly gain succubus abilities. Athena looks at her warily. So what if I'm a descendant of succubi? Do you dare kill me? Sylvie's right hand tightly grips the barrel lid, hard to say. It depends on who recovers their strength first. The storage room gradually becomes quiet. Neither speaks. In the silent space, only the rising and falling breathing sounds of 3 people become increasingly clear. Athena suddenly speaks hoarsely. There's another sound. Who is it? Sylvie closes her eyes and leans against the wooden barrel. I don't know. That sound is right behind you. Who are you hiding? Sylvie doesn't want to waste energy talking. Athena sniffs with her nose. In the rich wine aroma, she catches a trace of non-human pheromones similar to dog gland scent, but not exactly the same. It's a wolf, isn't it? Athena stares at Sylvie. Behind you is that wild woman in wolf fur. Why is she hiding here too? I know. She's a werewolf, is she? Sylvie opens her eyes. Since you're so curious, why don't you come see for yourself? Athena's eyes are full of resentment. She opens her mouth and just starts to curse with the word bitch, when Sylvie makes a shushing gesture, signaling her to listen to the sounds outside. A series of subtle scraping sounds come from the corridor, as if someone is approaching this way. Just moments ago, Aldrich had squinted his eyes and asked Sylvie, Miss, your temperament is quite distinctive, not quite like nobility from the Westland continent. Sylvie knows the paladin's judgment stone can detect lies, so she responds with a gentle tone. Indeed, I'm not nobility from the Westland continent. Oh, perhaps Miss comes from the wasteland. Not that either. Sylvie lifts her head, a trace of faint pride rising between her brows. My country is in the east of the planet, a land even more vast than the Westland. When tension reaches its peak, it becomes extreme calmness. Her voice is so proud that even she can't detect a hint of guilt. Aldrich shows surprised eyes. Could it be Mistland? Mistland actually exists? Sylvie smiles without speaking. Aldrich is even more shocked. Since Mistland exists, why hasn't anyone found Mistland? Legend has always spoken of a third continent's existence, but thousands of years have passed. So many bounty hunters and gold prospectors dreaming of overnight riches have gone to sea searching, yet none have brought back even a word of information about Mistland. Later, everyone thought Mistland was just some wandering bard's fabrication. But today, someone actually says Mistland isn't made up. There really is a third continent on planet Canaan, Kyle eagerly asks. But wasn't legendary Mistland supposed to be north of the Westland? How did it become the east? This question is what everyone at the dining table wants to know. Sylvie sees pairs of eyes full of curiosity and smiles slightly. First answering Aldrich, my country is extremely far from the Westland continent. The difficulty of going there is no less than flying to the stars in the sky. Then answering Kyle, our continent spans a vast area. Most of the land is in the east, with a small part in the northern region of the Western Hemisphere. This answer isn't wrong either. She's talking about continents, not countries. The Eurasian continent is indeed large, and Europe does have parts in the Western Hemisphere, like Iceland. Aldrich raises another question. Since reaching Mistland is so difficult, how did you manage to get here, miss? Sylvie lowers her eyelashes, her expression becoming sad. It's a long story, and some details aren't suitable to share with outsiders. In any case, I came here due to certain accidents. This is a trial for me. I'm afraid only after completing the trial can I return to inherit what rightfully belongs to me. This statement reveals quite a bit of information. What kind of accidents, and what belongs to her that still requires passing a trial to inherit. Everyone present has seen the world, and immediately thinks of certain dark secrets of great families. Looking at Sylvie again, they feel sympathy and pity. A 15-year-old delicate girl crossing treacherous oceans to end up stranded in the Westland, still having to complete some trial. How cruel those people's hearts must be. Sylvie receives a bunch of pitying looks. She brightens with a gentle smile again, but it's not too bad. I have people protecting me, and no one dares mistreat me in terms of food, clothing, and shelter. Besides, the teachers and classmates at Cyril Magic Academy are all very kind. I'm quite happy here. The headmaster and Professor Tobias nod, showing her appreciative looks, knowing to speak well of the academy. Very good. Suddenly a sweet voice sounds beside her. So you're saying, dear, that you're a great noble from Mistland? I'm so sorry, dear. I actually misunderstood you as a commoner pretending to be nobility. I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Athena apologizes humbly, showing just the right amount of self-reproach and anxiety on her face. Sylvie looks into her azure eyes, the corners of her lips slowly curving up. What's there to forgive between us? This is just a misunderstanding. Athena, please don't blame yourself. As long as you know you were wrong and correct yourself, we're still good friends. Athena's eyes burst with flames. Even though she hates Sylvie to death in her heart, she still has to show a moved expression on her face. Thank you, dear. You're truly a magnanimous person. No need to thank me, Athena. Treating others with tolerance is basic noble breeding. Athena's facial muscles twitch twice as she grips the meat knife in her hand tightly. Aldrich suddenly speaks. Miss, may I boldly ask what rank your parents hold in Mistland? Athena's words remind him that there are holes in Sylvie's story. She said she doesn't look like nobility from the Westland continent, and her answer was that she indeed isn't nobility from the Westland continent, but she also didn't say she's nobility from Mistland. Aldrich stares at Sylvie, waiting for her answer. No rank. Sylvie's eyes show a hint of restraint and pride. We are the masters of the country. All officials serve us. Aldrich looks at Sylvie with amazement. So you're a noble princess of the kingdom. Sylvie shakes her head. I have many brothers and sisters. I'm just one of them, nothing particularly noble. You're too modest, Aldrich says with a smile, then reaches for the wine pouch beside him and personally pours her a cup. This is my favorite fruit wine. Please have a taste. Miss, I wonder which angel's bloodline you descend from. Here it comes! Sylvie's spirit jolts as she thinks about how to phrase her response. True gods sit high in the clouds, and their messengers are called angels. Evil gods have fallen into darkness, so their messengers are called demons. Sylvie is neither angel nor demon. She's a follower of the god of the undead. The wings on her back are merely blessings from the god of the undead. How can she answer without being judged as lying? Sylvie slowly opens her mouth. I'm truly sorry, sir. After thousands of years of changes, many of our ancestral records have been lost, and our ancestral bloodline has become very diluted. In my family, I'm the only one who gained the ability to fly, so I'm not really sure either. Please forgive my ignorance. The War of Faith 2,000 years ago was so intense. She doesn't believe there weren't any fallen gods and angels. Moreover, most Westland people moved here from the wasteland, so their historical records are definitely incomplete. Planet Canaan has thousands of gods, large and small. Surely she can say she doesn't know without the paladin checking each one individually? Sylvie looks apologetically at Aldrich. When faced with unanswerable questions, don't choose between yes and no. Throw the problem back and let the person who asked figure it out themselves. A hint of regret flashes in Aldrich's eyes, but he doesn't pursue it further. He came out with a mission and doesn't have time to help a little girl find out who her ancestors were. No need to feel sorry. Miss, I was being presumptuous, Aldrich says, then raises his wine cup. Inviting everyone here so suddenly was my discourtesy. I still have important duties and cannot stay here long. Let this wine serve as my apology and farewell to everyone. Everyone, let's finish this cup together. She picks up the grape wine on the table that Aldrich personally poured for her. As the liquid swirls, she feels a strong sense of foreboding. There's something wrong with this wine. Everyone at the table is holding up their cups. All eyes are on the dining table. She has no opportunity to switch. Pouring it out won't work either. If this wine is holy water and she accidentally spills it on herself, all her efforts would be wasted. The girl knows there's something wrong with the wine in her cup. But she can't just pour it out. After all, the one who poured this wine for her is a paladin. If she dumps it or refuses to drink, it will arouse the paladin's suspicion, and Sylvie's identity as a dark god's chosen will definitely be exposed. She can only look for an opportunity to secretly spill the wine from her cup. Suddenly, a loud crash comes from the doorway. A short, stocky boy scrambles up in panic. Sorry, I don't know how I just tripped and fell here. Egbert, what are you doing here? Professor Tobias immediately recognizes the boy outside the door. Egbert is mortified with shame. Sorry, Professor. I don't know how I got up here either. I was just passing by and suddenly slipped. I'll deal with you later. Close the door and get out now. Egbert, scolded so badly he doesn't dare lift his head, pulls the door shut from outside with a dejected expression. Professor Tobias turns back around. Lord Paladin, sorry for startling you. It's fine, Professor. Students being lively is a good thing. Aldrich raises his wine cup again. Shall we continue then? Sylvie lifts her cup to her lips, tilts her head back, and drinks it all in one gulp. The bitter wine slides down her throat into her stomach, suddenly bringing a burning sensation. Sylvie sharply looks toward Athena, only to find Athena is also looking at her. Both their eyes flash with a hint of hatred. Sylvie had just taken the opportunity to switch wine cups with Athena, but there's actually poison in her cup. When did Athena notice she wanted to switch cups? And when did she put the poison in? Sylvie puts her hand under the table, clenching it into a fist. The burning pain from her back drives away all her rationality. making it completely impossible to think calmly. She grits her teeth, forcing herself not to let the wings on her back burst out, while maintaining a serene smile on her face. Aldrich finishes his wine and bids farewell to the headmaster and the two professors. The headmaster and professors escort him out of the dining hall. Finally, the footsteps of the four fade away, seemingly reaching the staircase and going down the steps. Gradius is the first to stand up. You all continue. I'm leaving. She frowns deeply, kicks her chair aside, and strides toward the door. It seems she has strong opinions about this luncheon and doesn't like staying here at all. Sylvie also supports herself on the chair back and leaves the table, smiling at the remaining people. Please take your time, everyone. I'll excuse myself first. She quickly walks out of the dining room. The stabbing pain in her back grows more intense, and she can even feel something protruding, pushing up the clothes on her back. At this rate, she won't be able to leave the academy dining hall before showing her true form. Sylvie's gaze sweeps over the rooms on both sides of the corridor and spots a wine storage room. She quickly pulls open the door and hides inside. The dim storage room is filled with wooden barrels. Near the door, wine is spilled all over the floor, and there are two upright, already opened grape wine barrels. The rich aroma of grape wine permeates the air. Sylvie shakes her head dizzily and walks over to lift the lid of a wooden barrel. Under the lid, a girl reveals sharp, canine teeth, making threatening wolf-like sounds from her throat. Grady's, a werewolf. Sylvie's numbed brain takes 3 seconds to react, and she says hoarsely, "Don't be afraid." She puts the lid back on, turns around and leans against the half-height barrel, supporting herself with both hands on her knees, breathing heavily. The wings on her back can no longer be suppressed. With a tearing sound, a pair of huge white wings sprout out. The wine in her belly is like a potion that catalyzes desire, making it impossible for her to control her thoughts. Corruption and redemption pull at each other alternately. Destruction and survival intertwine and entangle. The white wings also begin to gradually turn black from the edges of the feathers. What kind of drug did Athena use? Why does it feel like being addicted to poison? At this moment, the sound of the door opening suddenly rings out. A figure slips through the door crack and closes the door behind them. Golden hair stands out even in the dim storage room, but those azure blue eyes are tinged with a hint of crazy redness. Sylvie lifts her heavy head. Everything in front of her seems covered by frosted glass. She vaguely sees a pair of dark red wings sprouting from behind the figure, wingless, with thin finger bones stretched over thin membranes, like bat wings. On top of the head, there's also a pair of red pointed horns, emanating an aura of desire that draws people into corruption. Sylvie looks at Athena in a daze. Athena also looks at Sylvie groggily. Crown wings, you're a divine messenger of the goddess of life. Athena staggers a few steps inward. Her weak body suddenly falls forward and kneels on the ground. Sylvie's legs are also going weak, but she props herself up against the wine barrel, staring at the swaying Athena. You're a succubus. Athena shows a fierce expression, supporting herself on the ground, trying to get up, but her body is too weak to exert any strength. She can only stare at Sylvie with vicious eyes, while behind her a snake-like tail probes around in the air, like a poisonous scorpion, looking for the right moment to strike. You switched my wine. Athena's gasping voice is extremely seductive. Even though her eyes are so venomous, her voice makes people feel weak all over, like a soft, boneless siren seducing her chosen prey. Sylvie swallows in her throat. You also switched my wine. In an instant, both understand what happened. They both thought the other's wine was the problem-free wine, so they both took the opportunity to exchange wine cups. Athena created an opportunity to switch her wine cup with Sylvie's. Sylvie then seized the chance to switch her wine cup with Athena's. Back and forth, they ended up drinking their own original cups of wine. Sylvie exhales a breath of stale air, so the paladin tampered with every cup of wine. Athena suddenly leaps up, her sharp claws stabbing towards Sylvie's throat. Anyone who knows my secret must die. Sylvie grabs the wooden barrel lid and blocks forward. The 2-inch-long red nails pierce through the barrel lid and get stuck in the tightly structured wooden part. Athena cries out in pain. The wooden splinters sticking up from the lid pierce into her most tender nail beds. The pain of fingers connecting to the heart makes her vision go black. She retreats several steps and forcefully pulls her nails out. This attack has drained all her strength. Athena falls to the ground, looking at Sylvie viciously. I should have killed you back then, Sylvie gasps. Kill me? Athena, you don't have that ability. The resistance just now also exhausted all her strength. Sylvie slides down against the wooden barrel and finally sits on the cold ground. Athena, aren't you a follower of the goddess of love? How did you become a succubus? What about you? You're clearly Queen Isis's daughter. How did you become a princess of Mistland? When did I ever say I was Queen Isis's daughter? If you're not her daughter, how can you have stork angel wings? Only among the descendants of the goddess of life Isis would someone grow crown wings. You also said descendants of the goddess of life. In your mind, is Queen Isis the only descendant of the goddess of life? Athena presses her lips together, unwilling to answer this question. Admitting she mistook someone would be like admitting she's a joke. Athena, whose descendant are you then? Let me guess, you have succubus physical characteristics. Are you a descendant of succubi or a follower of the god of dark desires? The god of dark desires is an evil god whose authority opposes that of the goddess of love. His divine messengers are succubi. Descendants of succubi might inherit succubus bloodline, receive blessings from the god of dark desires, and similarly gain succubus abilities. Athena looks at her warily. So what if I'm a descendant of succubi? reply. Do you dare kill me? Sylvie's right hand tightly grips the barrel lid, hard to say. It depends on who recovers their strength first. The storage room gradually becomes quiet. Neither speaks. In the silent space, only the rising and falling breathing sounds of 3 people become increasingly clear. Athena suddenly speaks hoarsely. There's another sound. Who is it? Sylvie closes her eyes and leans against the wooden barrel. I don't know. That sound is right behind you. Who are you hiding? Sylvie doesn't want to waste energy talking. Athena sniffs with her nose. In the rich wine aroma, she catches a trace of non-human pheromones, similar to dog gland scent, but not exactly the same. It's a wolf, isn't it? Athena stares at Sylvie. Behind you is that wild woman in wolf fur. Why is she hiding here too? I know. She's a werewolf, is she? Sylvie opens her eyes. Since you're so curious, why don't you come see for yourself? Athena's eyes are full of resentment. She opens her mouth and just starts to curse with the word bitch, when Sylvie makes a shushing gesture, signaling her to listen to the sounds outside. A series of subtle scraping sounds come from the corridor, as if someone is approaching this way. Athena immediately panics, struggling to get up and trying to escape through the small wooden window. Sylvie bites her tongue tip to clear her consciousness halfway. She supports herself on the wooden barrel to stand up, turns around and whispers toward the barrel. Someone's coming! Quick, give me your coat! Grady bares her wolf fangs and hisses at her. She's completely lost her rationality and can't understand at all. Sylvie immediately presses down on her head, quickly strips off the wolf fur coat, then puts the barrel lid back on. After doing all this, she looks toward the window and sees Athena leaning against the stone wall by the window with a desperate expression. There are people outside the window. Sylvie quickly walks over and asks Athena in a low voice, "Are you sure I'm now a descendant of stork angels?" Athena looks at her with red eyes. "Bitch, are you happy that I'm about to die?" Sylvie slaps her without mercy. Using full force, "I'm not showing off to you. Answer my question, and maybe I can still save your miserable life." Athena is stunned by the slap, but hearing that she might save her life, hope rises in her heart again. "Are you really so kind?" "Cut the nonsense." Athena covers her swollen face. "Yes. You're a descendant of stork angels. Don't you know it yourself?" Sylvie scans left and right and sees the cabinet rack stacking wine barrels nearby. "Go hide behind the cabinet yourself. No matter what sounds you hear, don't move." "What are you planning?" Athena's tone is full of distrust. "Lead the people outside away." Sylvie finishes speaking and walks toward the door. As she walks, she tears open her collar, forcefully pulling at the torn clothes on her back, until she exposes a large area of her chest and back. Then she presses the wolf fur coat hanging on her arm against her chest, covering it with both hands. The subtle sounds in the corridor grow closer, and finally stop outside the wine storage room door. She deliberately makes her footsteps heavier, walks to the door, and kicks over a wine barrel with her foot. Thud! The barrel falls to the ground, and murky black wine pours out like a rushing waterfall, splashing everywhere. She stands the wine barrel back up, tries to crawl into it briefly, then quickly backs out and walks to the door. Her left hand covers her chest while her right hand gently opens a crack in the door. Seeing no one outside, she closes the door again. Suddenly a hand reaches out from outside, firmly blocking her door-closing action. The wooden door is pushed open from outside with a palm, and Aldrich's resolute, cold face appears before Sylvie. "Lord Paladin!" Sylvie tightly covers the wolf fur coat at her chest, a blush rising on her face. "Why would you suddenly—" "Sorry, I seem to have drunk too much. My wings came out uncontrollably." Aldrich looks at her wings. "You're a descendant of stork angels? Do you think so too?" Joy shows in Sylvie's eyes. "My classmate just said the same thing." Aldrich's gaze falls on the fur vest she's covering at her chest. "Miss, this wolf fur coat doesn't seem to be yours?" Sylvie shyly lowers her head. "I borrowed it from my classmate. I'll return it to her after I go back to the dormitory and change clothes." "Is that so?" Aldrich looks behind her, his sharp gaze sweeping through the wine storage room. Everything in sight shows nothing that shouldn't be there, except for the overturned wooden barrel on the ground and wine spilled everywhere. How did the wine barrel fall over? Sylvie is too shy to lift her head. "It's all my fault. I was afraid someone would come in, so I wanted to hide in the wine barrel, but the wings on my back wouldn't fit inside. It's so embarrassing." Aldrich touches the jade stone on his chest. No reaction, meaning everything she said is true. He takes another look at the storage room. The air is filled with heavy wine scent, sour and astringent, with a faint wolf smell that's so light it can be ignored, probably from that wolf fur coat. Aldrich is somewhat disappointed. Not one of the 5 people he suspected turned out to be what he was looking for. Aldrich asks one final question. "Miss, besides you, is there anyone else in this wine room?" "Anyone else?" Sylvie shakes her head in confusion. "No, you're the first person to open the door since I came in. The room only contains a human-like wolf and a succubus. If werewolves count as people, then she admits defeat." Aldrich dismisses his suspicion. "Very well, Miss, I apologize for the intrusion. I must leave now. I'll make amends to you another time if there's an opportunity." "No need to be so polite, Lord Paladin. Have a safe journey," Sylvie thinks to herself, and no need for amends either. She hopes there won't be a next time. After Aldrich leaves, Sylvie's shoulders relax as she closes the door and leans against it. Only now does she have the mind to think about why they would mistake her for a descendant of stork angels. It's also fortunate coincidence. Her wings happen to turn black-edged. Stork angels have long since fallen, and their bloodline descendants happen to have such wings. Stork angels were originally divine messengers of the goddess of life. Their prototype was a white-winged, black-edged crown bird that would bring babies to couples wanting children. children. Granting humans reproduction and new life was one of the goddess of life's abilities. She once controlled the authority of fertility and entrusted the task of fertility blessings to stork angels. But stork angels fell in the War of Faith 2,000 years ago, and the goddess of life also lost this part of her power. Later, this authority passed to the goddess of love Freya, who simultaneously controls human love, desire, and fertility. Sylvie's mind is full of complex thoughts. With the danger past, her limbs and body feel burning, stabbing pain again. After an unknown amount of time, the heat in her body finally slowly subsides. Sylvie retracts her wings, walks to the wine barrel, and lifts the lid to take a look. Grady's is already crouched inside sleeping, her eyebrows tightly furrowed. Good thing she doesn't snore in her sleep, or it would have been impossible to fool anyone. The Ice Wolf tribe stands behind Grady's, and the Ice Wolf tribe is the largest power in Exile City. Saving her is a profitable business. Canyon is near Exile City. If she ever wants to visit Abyss Canyon for sightseeing in the future, she might need the Ice Wolf tribe to guide her. But thinking about the person who was lying behind the wine barrels over there, Sylvie feels troubled again. This was originally the perfect opportunity to eliminate Athena, without her having to act. As long as the paladin discovered Athena was a succubus, he would naturally eliminate her. Such a pity. To avoid exposing Grady's, she had to save her enemy too. But she also has Athena's fatal weakness now. Sylvie turns and walks toward the rack where wine barrels are stored. Going around the wooden rack, she stops. Behind it is empty, with only traces of wine remaining on the ground. She looks toward the small window on the wall. There's a strip of fabric hanging on the window frame nail. Sylvie walks over and takes it down. It should be torn from Athena's skirt hem when she jumped out the window to escape. Sylvie puts the fabric strip in her pouch. She finds a clean stool in the storage room and sits down. After more than 20 minutes, some movement finally comes from the wine barrel by the door. The barrel lid is pushed open by a silver-white head. Grady's pushes aside the hair blocking her vision and climbs out of the wooden barrel. Sylvie props her chin up and watches her. Awake? Grady's jumps in surprise. Sylvie, you haven't left yet? Sylvie throws the wolf fur coat to her. You weren't awake yet. How could I dare leave? Grady's catches her own fur vest, her face showing a rare hint of shyness. Thank you for saving me. Sylvie is surprised. You know what happened just now? Gratis says embarrassedly. I know. I just wasn't clear-headed and didn't react properly. Sylvie nods and stands up. I'll leave first to go change clothes. Wait! Gratis nervously hands the wolf fur vest to her. Wear mine. If I wear it, what will you do? Sylvie understands this fur coat should be what she uses to mask her scent. Gratis shakes her head and pushes the vest into her arms. I'm not afraid. I'll go back with you. Sylvie thinks about it. All right then, let's go together. The two go downstairs. The first floor dining hall already has very few people left. Gratis! A voice suddenly calls out to the two of them. Gratis turns to see Theodore and Hall and quickens her pace to walk over. How did you two get here? Sylvie also turns her head and sees the two boys standing not far from the staircase, stopping in her tracks. Theodore's expression darkens slightly. Gratis, why are you with her? Gratis realizes Sylvie hasn't followed and steps back to stand beside her. Theodore, don't be like that. Sylvie saved my life. What? Theodore looks astonished. Gratis pulls Sylvie forward and explains quietly. The paladin poured me a cup of wine made with holy water and blood. After I drank it, I transformed back to my original form. If Sylvie hadn't helped me, my head would definitely have been chopped off by a holy sword by now. Both Theodore and Hall widen their eyes, not expecting Gratis to have such a dangerous experience today. Gratis looks around. By the way, are you two okay? Did you encounter the paladin when you came over? We're fine. I saw them leave the academy before coming over. When we heard you were called away by the paladin and didn't see you come out for so long, Hall and I wanted to come find you. Yes, we were just about to go upstairs when we saw you and this young lady coming down together. Gratis immediately turns to look at Sylvie with guilt. Sylvie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drive you away last time. Thank you for saving me today. After how I treated you, you were still willing to help me. No need to thank me. I just think judging a person's character purely by race is too absurd. Today, no matter who I encountered, I would have saved them. After saying this, she pulls her hand free from Gratis's. You probably have things to discuss. I won't disturb you. Goodbye, Sylvie. Gratis watches her helplessly. Miss Sylvie, please wait a moment. Theodore suddenly speaks up, his dark face showing a trace of respect. I apologize for my rude behavior last time. Please forgive me. Sylvie, I'm sorry. Hall scratches the back of his head and also apologizes. Gratis becomes happy, her eyes bright as she looks at Sylvie. Sylvie, stay with us. Let's hang out together. Sylvie shakes her head. No need. Gratis becomes anxious and grabs her hand. Didn't you want to touch my ears? If you stay, I'll let you touch them. Sylvie's expression immediately becomes serious. She straightens her back and says earnestly, whether I can touch ears or not isn't important. I mainly want to be friends with you all. Gratis thinks she really doesn't want to touch them anymore, and her eyes aren't as bright as before. But this isn't the place to talk, and I need to go back to the dormitory to change clothes first. Let's arrange to meet somewhere. I'll come find you after I change. Good, Gratis answers quickly, as if there's an invisible tail wagging behind her. Theodore and Hall also agree. The four arrange to meet in half an hour under the third willow tree by the lake. It's quite smelly there, so few people go. Walking out of the dining hall and breathing the fresh air outside, Sylvie feels like coming back to life. Winnie's description really wasn't biased at all. Theodore really does stink terribly, almost suffocated her. Hall also gives off a strong smell of rotten mud, plus a fishy stench of feces and urine. Her initial reluctance to stay wasn't being prissy, it was just because it smelled too awful. Back in the dormitory, Sylvie changes into into clean clothes, calls for a basin of water, and washes her face and hands. Estimating the time is about right, she heads out. Gratis has been waiting in the second-floor corridor. She lives on the third floor and changes clothes faster than Sylvie. Seeing Sylvie come out, Gratis waves at her. "Sylvie, I'm here!" Sylvie walks over to meet her, and the two head together to the third willow tree by the lake. Theodore and Hall arrive even earlier than them. The two are sprawled shapelessly on the grass by the lake, chewing grass stems and chatting desultorily. What makes Sylvie suffocate is that Theodore still has salted fish hanging on him, and Hall hasn't changed his clothes either. The paladin has already left. Do they need to be this cautious? Gratis also can't stand it. Werewolves naturally have keen senses of smell, and smelling this odor, her face turns green. "Theodore, Hall, why didn't you change clothes?" Theodore gets up and brushes grass bits off himself. "Hey, why change? What if the paladin comes back for a surprise attack? Their noses are sharper than dog noses." Hall also strongly agrees. "Yeah, it wasn't easy getting my clothes to smell like this." Sylvie and Gratis both step back 3 paces, looking at these two boys with unbearable expressions. Finally, they pinch their noses and walk over. Gratis says in a muffled voice, "Fine for today, but tomorrow you must change." Okay, we'll change tomorrow." When Theodore isn't targeting people, his personality is quite straightforward and likable. The four sit down on the grass to discuss what happened today. Both boys look at Sylvie with gambling-like expressions on their faces. "Miss Sylvie, want to guess what we two are?" Theodore says confidently. "I bet you can't guess. If I win, Hall has to give me 10 copper coins." Hall grins foolishly. "I bet Miss Sylvie can guess." Sylvie looks at them with smiling eyes. "What if I really guess correctly? You two won't want to kill me after guessing right, will you? If you guess correctly, I'll grant you one request. I'll be your servant for 7 days. Sylvie becomes interested. "You said it yourself." She studies Theodore. "Theodore, you come from the seaside, and today you hung salted fish on yourself to mask your scent. You should be Sea Clan, right?" Theodore lifts his chin. "Anyone could guess that. There are so many Sea Clans. You have to say exactly which Sea Clan I am to count as correct." Sylvie's smile grows deeper. "Then I'll say it directly. You're Kraken Sea Clan." Theodore's eyes bulge. "How did you guess that?" "This isn't hard to guess. Looking so dark, you couldn't possibly be a mermaid, right?" But Sylvie doesn't say this. She considers herself a person with manners and still gives her classmates some face. Legend says there are 7 great sea clans in the ocean: sirens, mermaids, kraken, sea serpent gorgons, sea beasts, whirlpool sea monster leviathan, and sea serpent jormungandr. Among the 7 great sea clans, only the first 4 can transform into humans. Among these 4 sea clans, only kraken are the most powerful, matching your personality best, so I guessed you're kraken. Theodore becomes happier as he listens, giving Sylvie a "you really have good taste" look. "Exactly, I'm Kraken Sea Clan." Sylvie can't help but smile. Other demons and monsters are all secretive about their identities, even resenting their parents and despising their origins for being monsters. Theodore is exceptionally proud of his identity, but Kraken Sea Clan really are powerful. They originate from the Northern Sea. Kraken have huge bodies and strong tentacles, completely unafraid of humans. Back then, their ancestor Kraken didn't eat people one by one, but ship by ship, swallowing ships and people together. Books say Westland people hate these races because their ancestors ate humans. This reason seems completely invalid to Sylvie, clearly fear of their power, wanting to eliminate threats. Yet they insist on bringing up ancestors from tens of thousands of years ago who hadn't even gained intelligence yet. Besides, humans on planet Canaan have also eaten many Sea Clan. Mermaids were the first to suffer, because mermaids are beautiful with large fish tails. Once caught, they'd be sent to nobles and clergy's banquets. Those people would admire the mermaid's beauty while live-skinning their bodies and eating raw mermaid meat. They believed eating mermaid meat could beautify and extend life, so they crazily went to sea to catch mermaids. Now mermaids have completely disappeared from the oceans. Second were the sirens. Sirens are human-headed, bird-bodied monsters who like perching on sea islands. They share ancestors with mermaids. Every siren has rare beauty and unparalleled singing voices. Former royalty, nobles, and even bishops liked keeping a siren to sing for them, but sirens are proud by nature. Most starved themselves to death in cages. Sea serpent clans had it even worse. Legend says sea serpent clan ancestors were 3 beautiful snake-haired women, the most famous being Medusa. She and her 2 sisters were collectively called the 3 Gorgon sisters. Sea serpent clan inherited their ancestors' beauty and snake hair, often sunbathing and fishing in shallow seas. Humans would ambush near reefs with fishing nets to trap them. Once caught, sea serpent clan people would have their hair cut off by hunters and be sent to serve high officials and nobles, or be imprisoned by some wealthy merchant in dark basements. Then, unable to bear the pain, they'd bash their heads against walls and die. Only Kraken escaped unharmed, because Kraken's original form is a poisonous giant octopus, inedible, ugly, and especially fond of tattling. Kraken's size grows with age. The older they get, the bigger their bodies. If anyone angers a little Kraken, the little Kraken reports to the Elder Chief. When the octopus Elder Chief takes action, one tentacle swipe can destroy half a city. Such abilities are truly heaven-defying. So Theodore's arrogance at the academy has good reason. Don't look at how poor he is. His backing is solid enough. Sylvie thinks and thinks, then finds it strange again. Kraken Sea Clan should have their own inherited talents, right? Why would he come to Cyril Magic Academy? Because I'm a half-demon. I didn't inherit my mother's talent abilities, only inherited my human father's magical talent. Theodore tells his life story. A noble youth goes on a sea adventure, unfortunately falls overboard, and gets saved by a naive young Kraken girl. The youth not only doesn't fear the girl, but falls in love with her. The two spend sweet times together, until the Kraken girl becomes pregnant and gives birth to a human baby who didn't inherit Kraken talents. The man suddenly turns hostile. It turns out he never loved the Kraken girl. He just wanted her to birth a little Kraken. Kraken talent is devouring will, bringing fear to humans. The man originally wanted to take the little Kraken away and train it as a weapon, but the little Kraken failed to inherit this ability. Learning the truth, the Kraken girl becomes very sad. She slaps off the noble youth's head with one palm and takes Theodore back to the sea. Humans don't accept half-demons, but monster clans are tolerant. Theodore is the first new little Kraken born in 200 years. All the Kraken in the clan love him very much, but the sea is full of dangers and sea monsters. Little Kraken can't stay in mother's embrace forever, especially since mother has found new love. He must learn independence and become stronger. With no choice, he can only come ashore to learn magic from humans. I heard from others that only Cyril Magic Academy recruits students regardless of background. So here I came to Cyril. Sylvie and Grady simultaneously sigh. What a twisting, dramatic story. Theodore purses his lips. What's dramatic about this? This kind of story has played out hundreds of times among those brain-dead mermaids. Then he urges, Miss Sylvie, quickly guess what race Hall is. I'm certain you absolutely can't guess. Sylvie cups her chin and studies Hall. This really is a bit hard to guess. When Theodore asks Sylvie to guess Hall's identity, Sylvie initially thinks of crocodile demons, or pig demons. But too many animals like coating themselves in mud, this hobby has no specificity. However, feces makes Sylvie think of one creature. When she was researching followers and evil gods materials, she saw a lich who worships the lich god. They're descendants of witches cursed by gods and swamp tree spirits. The gods cursed that witch's children to mutate at birth and slowly rot into corpses. Later, the cursed witch mated with swamp tree spirits and gave birth to half-witch, half-demon children. Half-witch, half-demons are born as corpses but don't rot, and possess trees' asexual reproduction ability, forming their own race, the Lich Clan. Theodore sees Sylvie hasn't given an answer for a long time and generously says, how about this? We'll give Sylvie 3 chances. Only if she gets it wrong all 3 times does she lose. Sylvie smiles gently. No need, I've already guessed. It's Lich, right? Hall nods with a smile. No way. How did you figure that out? Theodore is utterly frustrated. His 10 copper coins. That's his food money for 2 days. Gradius is also very curious. Sylvie patiently explains. I heard before that humans have a prohibition carved into their genes. Seeing corpses of their own kind produces hallucinations of smelling corpse stench. A neural command that no fragrance can cover, only smelling human feces can eliminate. I haven't experienced it myself, but remembering this, I tried guessing with a lucky mentality. Theodore clicks his tongue, guessing right on one try. That's too amazing. Sylvie is very modest, just lucky. Happened to have read materials on this topic. The betting ends. Hall collects his winnings from Theodore Sr. Where are my 10 copper coins? Theodore grimaces, searches his whole body to find 10 copper coins, and extremely reluctantly hands them over. Hall smiles apologetically and takes the 10 copper coins without hesitation. Sylvie's mouth twitches. No wonder they bet 10 copper coins. Turns out that's all he has on him. Theodore is now completely broke. He's considering where to dig wild vegetables tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's winter now with few wild vegetables. He can only dig tree roots. Gradus reminds them, you also need to pay your bets. Theodore snorts. I never said I wouldn't pay. He looks at Sylvie. Sylvie, what's your request? Say it. As long as I can do it, I'll fulfill it. Haven't thought of anything yet. I'll tell you when I do. Is that okay? Theodore readily agrees. Hall also looks at Sylvie. Miss Sylvie, for the next 7 days, I'm your servant. You can order me to do anything. Sylvie raises her eyebrows. Anything? Yes. Hall smiles innocently. All right, then tonight go back and take a bath, change clothes. Tomorrow I'll tell you what to do. Sylvie has already thought of how to use him. Liches all know dark magic. Having him give Rosie some basic instructions shouldn't be too much, right? This also counts as proactively offering a weakness. After all, she knows these 3 people's identities. For their peace of mind and mutual trust, revealing some vulnerabilities is necessary. After chatting, the sky is getting dark, so they pair off and head to their respective dormitories. Walking several hundred meters, Theodore turns his head and asks, didn't you say last time not to tell others about our identities? Why did you encourage me to reveal it to Sylvie today? Hall maintains his unchanging smile. Last time you impulsively drove her away, leaving just us 3 in the attic. Today she knows Gradus's secret. She could easily suspect us with a little thought. Better to tell her proactively and make friends. My intuition tells me she's also someone with secrets. I'll use these 7 days to probe her background. Theodore sighs. Truly worthy of being a lich. Heart is just black. Hall accepts this praise. The next day, after runic studies class, Sylvie sees a fresh, clean, light blonde boy outside the classroom. Miss Sylvie, is there anything you need me to do today? You'll know in a moment. Come with me. Sylvie leads Hall away from school back to her new residence. This is the new name she gave the small courtyard, calling it Small Courtyard Lax Class. Sylvie brings Hall into the dining room and first treats him to lunch. He says he'll be her servant for 7 days, but he's still her classmate after all. She can't really treat him like a servant. After Hall eats 2 servings of fragrant roasted bread and grilled steak, his favorability towards Sylvie shoots up. He thinks regardless of whether he can catch Sylvie's weaknesses, he must maintain good relations with her. Having a wealthy, noble friend is just too wonderful. If Sylvie sponsors him 1 meal every day, that would be absolutely amazing. After eating, Sylvie gets to the point. Hall, you're a lich, so you should know some dark magic, right? Hall purses his lips and smiles a little. What do you want me to do? Sylvie says mysteriously. You'll know when you meet the person. Please follow me, Hall. Hall curiously follows behind her upstairs. Sylvie opens the study door and calls, Rosie, come meet the magic teacher I found for you. Hall looks inside to see a black-haired, black-eyed girl with outstanding appearance walking toward him. The little girl looks only 7 or 8 years old and seems rather thin. Rosie bows to Hall. Hello, teacher. I'm Rosie. Her voice is somewhat low, like a boy's. Hall looks puzzledly at Sylvie. Miss Sylvie, what's this about? She's my guard's daughter. When we came to the Westland, she secretly followed her father. Her magical talent is rather special. I can't find anyone here to teach her. Fortunately, I met you. Hall, want to take a look at her talent? Hall understands her meaning. Could she be a dark element affinity user? Exactly, and she only has affinity with dark elements. After coming here, I discovered that Westland people seem to discriminate heavily against dark magic practitioners. I haven't dared find her a teacher. Hall, yesterday you said I could order you to do anything, so having you be Rosie's magic teacher for 7 days shouldn't be a problem, right? Hall immediately grins. Of course, no problem. Not just 7 days. I could be her magic teacher for 3 years. Sylvie shakes her head. How could I impose like that? Our bet is only for 7 days. Extend the bet. Such a good dark magic prospect. Being able to teach her is my honor. Miss Sylvie, please let me be her initiation teacher. Hall calculates in his mind. If he becomes Rosie's teacher, doesn't that make him half of Sylvie's person? Wouldn't that mean getting meals provided? Wouldn't that save him a lot of money and let him eat good food? It's just teaching some dark magic spells. He's known those since birth. Teaching them takes no effort at all. Hall suddenly thinks of something and looks troubled. It's just that I don't have a spare magic wand. No problem, you teach her the basics first. I'll find her a magic wand when school breaks. You're going to Beast Mountain, range? Hall is quite surprised. Planning to. What about it? What a coincidence. Theodore and I also plan to go there after break. Those guys are so poor they can barely afford food, wanting to get some things from Beast Mountain range to sell. In all the Westland, only things there can be freely gathered, as long as the people going have the ability. Miss Sylvie, how about we travel together? I could also hitch a ride with you. Sylvie readily agrees. Having a lich and an octopus sea monster along greatly increases travel safety. Little do they know this trip will lead the three to find that legendary continent. A girl who transmigrated and became a fake noble commoner, then accidentally became a dark god's chosen. She's already struggling to avoid paladins, yet gets set up by an annoying little pest and delivered straight to the paladin's doorstep. For such a useless teammate, Sylvie, who barely escaped death, can't let him off easily. After settling Hall, Sylvie comes to Ace Cream Sweet Shop, just reaching the 2nd floor. She hears a greeting from the window. Sylvie, good afternoon. Why are you so late today? Good afternoon, teacher Lillian. I've been a bit busy these past 2 days. Sylvie sits down across from Lillian. Lillian looks at her with concern. Busy with what? Sigh, teacher Lillian, you know I just want to keep a low profile for these 3 years and study magic well, but sometimes accidents always happen. Lillian seems to understand something and gently puts down her fork. I'm truly sorry. I heard about yesterday's events too. My brother caused you trouble, didn't he? Trouble isn't quite the word. Students wanting to talk to me today really were quite numerous. This isn't Sylvie making things up. When she entered the classroom today, a bunch of students surrounded her, each wanting to ask about Missland. She used many excuses to fend them off until her mouth went dry. And, Sylvie hesitates. Lillian says gently, Sylvie, just say whatever you want. We're friends, aren't we? All right, I'll speak directly then. Not long ago, I discovered Kyle spying on me. His crow flew to my window at night. Lillian clenches her fists. That brat. I'll give him a good beating when I get back. Sylvie quickly stops her. Please don't do that, while showing embarrassment on her face. Otherwise, Kyle will know I'm the one who reported him. He meant well originally. Lillian narrows her eyes. Don't worry, I won't mention you. Just based on his presumptuous decision yesterday to represent father at the banquet, this beating is inevitable. After quickly finishing afternoon tea, Lillian leaves the sweet shop with murderous intent. Sylvie finally feels satisfied. That useless teammate should get a good beating from his sister. She hums a little tune as she goes downstairs, finds a relatively quiet spot and calls Troy. Troy jumps out from some corner. Yesterday I didn't come out. Did anything interesting happen in the city? There were 2 interesting things. The temple archbishop was stripped of his red robes and demoted to purple robe archbishop. The paladin did that? Yes, saying he was incompetent. Demotion is just the lightest punishment. Will the Vatican send another red robe archbishop? Probably not. The Vatican originally only has 9 red robe archbishops who each manage one nation's religious affairs. They can't come to Cyril. Cyril's red robe archbishop is a ceremonial position. The archbishop was promoted to red robes by the Pope after Cyril Magic Academy was established. Though he has the red robe title, he still only manages Cyril, relying on archbishop authority. Sylvie nods. So being demoted makes no real difference. There is a difference. I heard when the archbishop received the demotion decree, he fainted. After being splashed awake by monks, he knelt in the temple repenting all night. Serves him right. Let them splash him with holy water. Sylvie is in a good mood. Didn't you say there were 2 interesting things? What's the other good news? Troy looks at her and says, quietly, the temple posted a notice saying there's no god of death and time in the world. They've caught the bad person pretending to be a divine messenger to deceive everyone and will burn him to death before sunset today. After she finishes, the air is quiet for a full minute. Sylvie slowly narrows her eyes. Very interesting. This is also the Paladin's idea. So the Paladin's purpose for coming out isn't to preach any doctrine, but because he discovered someone collecting faith trying to become a god and came to catch them. Now that he couldn't catch anyone, he wants to solve the problem at its root by finding a scapegoat to impersonate her and push onto the stake. But how did the Paladin discover this? When she impersonated an evil god's divine messenger to rescue people from execution, it didn't alarm the Vatican. Just when she could hear believers' prayers, the Vatican sent Paladins out. Could divine revelation have discovered her? If it really is as she guesses, the Paladin probably is still hiding in some corner of the city and hasn't left at all. Where would they hide? A location immediately pops into Sylvie's mind. The temple. Troy, I'm heading back to school first. Go back to the courtyard later and remind Hall not to forget to wear magic robes tomorrow to make a good impression on Rosie. Troy nods. Sylvie hurries back to school and tells Gradius and Theodore that the Paladin hasn't left Cyril yet. Both look very serious after hearing this. Theodore curses angrily. I knew Vatican people are cunning and treacherous. Paladins are also a bunch of sneaky villains. Keep your voice down. We know this, but don't let words slip out. Theodore's brow furrows enough to pinch mosquitoes dead. Laura is coming back today. What if she runs into the Paladin? Sylvie feels exasperated. Laura isn't also Theodore's eyes shift evasively. Well, she took leave successfully, didn't she? We just didn't tell you her identity. Oh well, guess for yourself. When she comes back, I'll bring her to meet you. Sylvie feels mentally exhausted. Their doomed squad really keeps growing. How many demons and monsters is Cyril Magic Academy hiding? At sunset, a pillar of fire shoots up from Temple Square Center, black smoke billowing over the square. Painful wails of the condemned come from the flames. Nick recognizes the person in the fire. He's not a divine messenger at all, just a bandit who stole their village's lambs last year. Today, hearing others say the temple would execute a criminal impersonating a divine messenger, he didn't even bother feeding his chickens and rushed over with the villagers. Seeing the criminal at first glance, Nick knows the temple is deceiving everyone. He's seen the divine messenger with his own eyes. How could he not know real from fake? The temple finding a fake to impersonate perfectly shows they fear the god of death and time and don't dare capture the real divine messenger. Nick becomes even more firm in his faith, quietly slips out of the crowd and returns to the village. He must raise more livestock and farm well to offer rich sacrifices to his god. On the third morning, Paladin Aldrich comes to the academy again to bid farewell to the headmaster and asks the headmaster to pass something to Sylvie. Headmaster Morrison comes outside the classroom and personally gives her the silver box. Sylvie, this is what the Paladin entrusted me to give you this morning. He says it's an apology for his offense. Thank you, headmaster. Sylvie opens the exquisite silver box. Inside is a ruby necklace with a gem base carved into a rose shape. Beside the necklace is a freshly picked laurel branch. Her expression freezes. This is laurel. Seems to symbolize power and glory. Why would Aldrich send this to her? The headmaster also sees the laurel branch, surprise appearing on his refined face, followed by a sighing shake of his head. Aldrich has dedicated his life to the gods. Love is a forbidden territory he cannot touch. Keep it, Sylvie. This is Aldrich's blessing for you. He won't disturb your life. Store this gift well. You might find it useful someday. Though Sylvie finds it strange, she still follows his advice and carefully stores the gift. She hangs the laurel branch by her dormitory window to dry into flowers before preserving it. Laurel does symbolize power and glory, but also represents love. Sylvie knows laurel's meaning and understands the headmaster's words, but she doesn't understand why Aldrich would show her affection. They've met exactly twice at most. Could Westerners also have traditions of having to marry home any woman who shows her shoulders? Could Paladins be this naive? Sylvie leans more toward Aldrich, using this item to test her. That necklace probably has some runic magic array with eavesdropping functions carved into it. On the afternoon when the Paladin leaves, the doomed squad reunites once more. This time there's one more person. Hello, Miss Sylvie. I'm Laura. Laura has already heard about the past 2 days' events from Theodore and has a good impression of Sylvie. Just call me Sylvie. Why are you being so polite, Laura? I call everyone by name directly. Theodore pokes Laura's back. Hey, Laura, where have you been hiding these past few days? You look so rosy-cheeked. Eating well, huh? I've been hiding at a farm outside the city these past few days. The farm has lots of little chicks, and I brought my chicks there too. As she speaks, she licks her sharp little canine teeth, happiness glowing in her eyes. Sylvie glimpses her action and feels a jolt in her heart. This girl doesn't look like a good person. She loves eating chicken. Could she be a fox spirit? Obviously a powerful Kraken Sea clan member, yet has to work as an egg beater in a cake shop. But instead of being angry, he's grateful to the cake shop owner. Just now, Theodore revealed Laura's identity. Turns out Laura is a cat demon. Sylvie's mind fills with images of a big fat cat stealing chicks. Laura and Theodore are both worrying about money. Theodore lost his last 10 copper coins to Hall. He hasn't eaten for 2 days. Laura also can't continue raising chicks in the dormitory due to new school rules, can only catch birds to eat, and still doesn't have next year's tuition settled. The two complain about their miseries while only Hall smiles as he watches them argue, occasionally inserting a comment advising Laura to cherish small animals and not catch little birds, advising Theodore to just endure the hunger and it'll pass. After all, he's already found Sylvie as a long-term meal ticket. Fortunately, Sylvie quickly snaps back to attention and offers them a solution. Ace Cream Sweet Shop is hiring part-time staff at 30 copper coins a day. You could try applying. Laura and Theodore simultaneously turn their heads. Really? Sylvie nods. Really. I'll put in a word with the manager anyway. Theodore's original form has so many tentacles. His hands should be very strong. Perfect for the back kitchen as an egg beater. Laura has a gentle personality, and cat paws are quite nimble. She could work in the shop as a serving maid. Wonderful. This reunion ends with cheers from both. That night, Sylvie closes her doors and windows tightly, pulls the curtains shut. Outside, wind and snow howl as winter strips the castle of its romantic exterior, making it gloomy and cold. Sylvie extinguishes the oil lamp and lies down in the cold bedding. Even in dreams, it's snowing. Thick snow covers the garden like a layer of white carpet. She sees a white-haired girl sitting by the flower bed, snowflakes covering her shoulders. "Gratis!" she calls out, but the girl doesn't respond. Sylvie walks over puzzled and pats her shoulder. "Gratis, why are you sitting here?" Gratis turns her stiff neck, icy eyes looking at her, opening her mouth to spew black blood. Sylvie jumps in shock and steps back. The scene before her eyes suddenly changes. She sees roaring flames engulfing a frail little girl. Suddenly, torrential rain pours from the sky. Black clouds and rainwater flood Cyril. Countless undead surge into the city, fighting over the little girl's broken soul. The little girl devours these undead, and an evil demon is born. The Vatican sends paladins to eliminate the evil demon. They search house by house throughout the city, finally reaching the Magic Academy. A long sword pierces through Gratis's chest. Black octopus tentacles are severed into pieces. The flying succubus's wings melt under holy water. The lich cuts off his own arm and jumps into the mud pit. Instantly, dozens of corpses appear in the academy. Some he recognizes, some he doesn't. Sylvie takes another step back. The scenery around her changes again. In the pitch-black night, reeking of foul mud, the monster comes to the city. Troy still kills the demon. From the demon's belly, he cuts out several corpses that haven't been completely digested. The city lord, awakened by the city guards in the middle of the night, hurries over and recognizes the accessories on one of the corpses, determining this to be a princess from the north. In a blink, the original soul is hanged on the gallows. It's only early autumn when the paladins arrive. They investigate in the city for a while, then enter Cyril Magic Academy, discovering a non-human presence in the academy. Gratis dies. Athena escapes with the help of guards. Theodore and Hall's endings remain unchanged. The paladins now have a captured large orange cat in their hands. They're discussing how to tame this cat beast into an obedient mount. The bizarre dream slowly fades as Sylvie opens her eyes to the dull sound of knocking at the door. The last dream sequence shows the original soul's timeline. What would happen if Sylvie never crossed over, never saved Princess Lillian? The original soul gets executed, and all members of the Doom Squad meet tragic ends. The second sequence shows the original soul crossing over and saving Princess Lillian, but not saving Lydia. The first sequence saves both Lillian and Lydia, but not Gratis. When Sylvie wakes up, her feet are ice cold. She has mostly forgotten last night's dream, only remembering seeing many corpses and blood everywhere. She's been too tense lately. Having nightmares isn't surprising. During class, Sylvie notices the noble girls in her class huddled together, chattering excitedly about something. Vera is among them, speaking with great animation. She quietly moves closer to listen and learns they're discussing a type of fabric called rainbow silken cloud dress and twilight silken cloud shawl. Sylvie remembers Blake mentioning his secret formula for weaving cashmere that feels soft as clouds in the sky. She had casually suggested calling it silken cloud. It seems Blake adopted her suggestion. As for the rainbow dress and twilight shawl, they must be made from dyed silken cloud fabric. Burton had sent her several pieces before, but she thought the colors were too flashy and never wore them out. Vera says proudly, "I pre-ordered a rainbow dress 2 days ago, plus 2 twilight shawls, 1 orange, 1 pink gradient. I paid 5 gold coins for rush service, so I can get them tonight. Vera, can you let me see them? You get them? I also pre-ordered a shawl, but the shop's tailor says there are over 30 people ahead of me. It'll be at least 10 days before my turn." Same here. I ordered yesterday, and the tailor says my rainbow dress will take half a month to complete. This batch of fabric is already sold out. Damn, who was so fast? It must be the senior students from the advanced classes. They know Cyril better than us. My sister often shops at that store, so when the shop owner gets good fabric, he tells them first. Really? Yesterday I asked the owner of Hawkins' shop, and he said this batch of Silken Cloud has been on pre-sale for half a month. Those seniors kept it so secret. We didn't hear a word about it. Hearing her friend's complaints, Vera lifts her head high. Wait, I'll get revenge for you tonight. I'll go order the entire next batch of Silken Cloud fabric so those seniors can't buy a single shawl. The girls around her immediately cheer up, surrounding Vera and chattering, "Vera, you're so amazing. You're my best friend. Vera, can you sell me one after you order them? Please, Vera." Vera, me too. You must save one for me. Vera's lips curve upward. One at a time. Don't worry, you'll all get one. Sylvie listens silently, then returns to her seat. Not letting the bearded soldier arrest Vera back then was definitely the right decision. If Vera had spent a few days in jail, she might have transferred schools out of embarrassment. She's a big customer they can't afford to lose. The next day in class, Vera wears a flowing, iridescent-colored cashmere dress. When she passes by Sylvie, she deliberately lifts her skirt hem, looking extremely proud. Vera, your dress looks nice, Sylvie calls out to her. But didn't you say before that only commoners would wear this kind of wool undergarment? Vera's smile freezes. You vindictive woman with such a petty mind. This is precious silken cloud, not wool. Oh, so it's silken cloud. Sylvie draws out her words. But isn't it still made from wool? The undergarment I wore back then was also custom made from Hawkins' shop. Silken cloud. Vera looks around quickly, then lowers her voice. I was wrong, okay? Can you please stop bringing up what happened before? I admit I was blind and didn't recognize quality goods. Please don't tell others about this, okay? Sylvie props her chin boredly. Now you know you were wrong. Why didn't I see you apologize back then? Vera fidgets awkwardly. I'm sorry. Go home and write an apology letter with 100 I'm sorry's and I'll forgive you. Don't go too far. My father is Earl Wesley. Tisk tisk and Earl. I'm so scared. Vera's face turns bright red. You just wait. I'll go home tonight and write a letter to complain. A letter of apology. Vera storms off in anger. Sylvie shakes her head. A brainless, noble young lady who, if you ignore what she did to the original soul, is actually quite cute. The last half month of the semester passes quickly. In a blink, it's December 19th, the day before Academy holiday. All the teachers have assigned winter vacation homework, and Sylvie is recording the requirements in her parchment notebook. Suddenly, she hears knocking at the classroom door. It's the student council president, Veronica Malaki Temple. Professor, sorry to interrupt your class. The headmaster wants student Sylvie from your class to come to the headmaster's office, the girl who grows black wings at night, sneaking out of school, and only returning near dawn. She thought she was being completely stealthy, but everything was recorded. Just now, when Sylvie arrives at the headmaster's office door, she hears the senior student mention there are several other students inside. She has an ominous feeling, her right eyelid twitching. Could it be that their entire doomed squad has been caught? She takes a deep breath and walks into the headmaster's office. The entire doomed squad is here. Headmaster, you wanted to see me? Headmaster Morrison looks up at Sylvie. Now that everyone's here, let's go next door to sit and talk. He leads the 5 students into the adjacent conference room. After everyone sits down, Headmaster Morrison opens his record book. Except for you few, all students who violated school rules this semester have been disciplined. Do you know why you're the last ones to be called in? Theodore grins. Because we committed the lightest offenses? Gradis, with serious eyes showing a hint of excitement, says, I know, because we're good students. The school wants to give us rewards. The headmaster is so exasperated he laughs. He slams the record book on the table with a bang. Because you few committed the most serious offenses, starting with the intermediate division. Theodore, strange pits have appeared multiple times in the academy lawn and gardens. 2 willow trees have fallen, 3 pine trees have died. Do you have anything to explain? Confess and receive leniency. Resist and face severity, Theodore hisses. Headmaster, sir, I think our school might have a groundhog that's destroying our beautiful campus. A groundhog? Headmaster Morrison sneers. But the dormitory supervisor and student council kept watch for 2 consecutive nights and saw a person sneaking around campus, stealing tree roots and grass, destroying campus vegetation. What do you have to say about that? You can't pin this on me, frame job. The dormitory supervisor personally saw you carrying the dug-up tree roots back to the dormitory. Do you still want to argue? Theodore falls silent. Headmaster Morrison ruthlessly announces his punishment. Deduct 20 academic points. You must fill all the pits and restore the destroyed vegetation before school starts. At the beginning of next semester, you'll read a self-criticism in front of all teachers and students and serve 10 days of community service under student council supervision. Hearing so many punishments, Theodore deflates. Laura, Professor Tobias's owl went missing half a month ago at night. The dormitory supervisor used scent tracking magic, traced it to your dormitory, and found several owl feathers on your clothes. Do you have anything to explain? Laura hangs her head. I'm sorry, headmaster, sir. I admit my mistake. It's all because she was dizzy with hunger and mistook the bird. She caught the owl, but when she was about to eat it, she realized her mistake and released it. But the dormitory supervisor still found out. Give me your sincere attitude of admitting fault and this being a first offense. 5 academic points deducted. You must write a self-criticism and apologize to Professor Tobias's owl. Yes, headmaster, sir. After disciplining the intermediate magic apprentice, Professor Morrison turns to the elementary division student hall. This semester, the student council received 47 complaints about you. In potions class, your potion knocked out 2 classmates. In alchemy class, your molten metal released toxic gas that poisoned 7 classmates. 38 classmates complained about your body odor. Can you improve? Hall's honest smile almost falters as he quickly lowers his head. I'm sorry, headmaster, sir. I admit my mistake. I can fix the body odor issue, but I don't know why the potions and metals turned out that way. I followed the professor's instructions exactly. Headmaster Morrison pauses. From now on, when doing these 2 class assignments, wait until everyone else leaves before you start. Also, 10 academic points deducted. At the beginning of next semester, you'll give a self-criticism in front of all teachers and students, and serve 5 days of community service. Yes, headmaster, sir. Greatest, this semester you stayed out overnight 4 times, made students cry 4 times, and caused 3 disturbances in equestrian class. What do you have to explain? I didn't scare them, Grady's can't understand. They cried when they saw me. The horses too. I don't know why. Headmaster Morrison's temple throbs. In the academy dining hall, you stared at students who spoke ill of you while chewing raw meat, using this behavior to intimidate them. Did this happen? It wasn't raw meat, medium rare steak. I looked at them because I heard them saying my name. Then did you cause disturbances at the stables? I didn't. When I ride horses, they run wild and crash into things themselves. What about staying out overnight, sneaking to the castle rooftop to look at the moon? Grady lowers her eyes. I admit to that. Headmaster Morrison rubs his chest to calm himself. 10 points deducted, right as self-criticism. When school starts, I'll invite your older brother to discuss your problems with him. Gradus frowns, glaring unhappily at the headmaster. Headmaster Morrison gets a headache just looking at him and turns his gaze to Sylvie. This makes his headache even worse. Sylvie, do you know what you did wrong? Sylvie's mind races through everything that happened since school started, then asks tentatively, because I made classmates cry with hunger from the fragrances I made in potions class? Think again. Could it be because I wasn't sincere in astronomy class and got the turtle shell? Keep thinking. Then it must be because I knocked over the wine barrel in the dining hall storage room and didn't pay enough compensation? Headmaster Morrison's face darkens. No, Sylvie, she really can't think of anything else. It couldn't be that he discovered her stealing magic books or cheating in runic studies class, could it? If it's not that and she admits to it, wouldn't she be exposing herself? Sylvie looks carefully at Headmaster Morrison. Headmaster, could you give me a hint? The student who refuses to admit fault exhausts Headmaster Morrison. He leans back in his chair. Sylvie, yesterday, when Professor Macready was maintaining the Academy's magic array, he discovered something very interesting. The Academy's security perimeter was crossed by the same person 36 times, each time after the curfew bell rang, leaving the Academy and returning near dawn. The Academy hasn't had someone this brazen in a long time. Sylvie, do you know who this person is? Sylvie hesitates, worried that the headmaster might be bluffing. Do you need me to present evidence before you give up? I admit my mistake. I'm sorry, Headmaster. Please punish me. Actively admitting fault gets lighter punishment, and she's a first-time offender. Unlike the others who caused destruction on campus, the headmaster mentioned her last, so her offense must be the smallest. At most, 10 points deducted. Good. Since you've admitted it, I'll state it directly. Your punishment, 40 points deducted. You must submit a 1,000-word self-criticism when school starts, serve 15 days of community service, and patrol for 1 month. Why are so many points deducted for her? She only skipped school. Besides, students climbing over school walls is normal. Who doesn't have a nightlife? Seeing Sylvie's incredulous expression, Headmaster Morrison narrows his eyes sternly. What? Do you have objections to this punishment? No objections at all. I'm sorry, Headmaster. Accept the punishment. Outside the headmaster's office, Theodore gives Sylvie a thumbs up. You're a warrior, Sylvie. I wouldn't dare skip school, but you skipped 18 times. Sylvie looks up sadly, holding back tears. Am I the only one who sneaks out at night in this entire school? Believe it. Theodore laughs heartily. But nobody's as brazen as you. Others at least try to disguise themselves, either using teleportation runes or turning into mice to secretly dig underground tunnels. Who dares to be as blatant as you? Laura adds. Most importantly, nobody else would skip so many times except you. The teleportation runes and transformation magic you mentioned can only be learned by intermediate and advanced magic apprentices. What could I do? Sylvie tears up. She faced life or death choices right after crossing over. The Academy doesn't give students an introduction manual. How is she supposed to know there are magical security cameras here? Theodore says gleefully. That's why no new students dare skip school. Sneaking out at night is something only seasoned, intermediate, and advanced students would do. Besides, as a new student, you're not even familiar with the city roads. What did you go out to do at night? I found the Academy dormitory bed too small and wanted to sleep in a bigger bed. Is that wrong? Theodore curls his lips. You nobles have so many problems. How did that big bed feel, costing you 40 academic points? Sylvie feels depressed and withdrawn. A school year has only 100 points total. This deduction takes away nearly half. If she makes any mistake next semester and loses 1 more point, she can forget about advancing to the intermediate division and prepare to repeat the year. Hall is equally unhappy. She looks at Theodore. Why do I get punished for being smelly? Senior, isn't your dried fish much smellier? Theodore proudly puffs out his chest. Because nobody dares complain about me. Anyone who complains about me gets beaten up. Last year, everyone who complained about me got knocked down in the arena. The others marvel at Theodore's violence, but only Laura isn't surprised. Tomorrow afternoon is holiday. Have you packed your things? What's there to pack? Just buy some bread. Laura shakes her head. Theodore, you forgot we still need to rent 2 horses. Sylvie asks curiously. How long does it take to ride there? Laura counts on her fingers. Not counting nighttime, about 10 days or so. Not too long. Round trip is just enough time before school starts. Sylvie frowns. She still needs to go to Demon Sea and can't waste so much time on the road. What if I told you I have another form of transportation that could get us there in 1 day? Would you be willing to come? With me? Hall asks in surprise. 1 day to get there? Is it a long-distance teleportation array? Sylvie shakes her head. No, you'll know when the time comes. Hall thinks for a moment and nods. We're in too. Laura and Theodore quickly nod along. How could they refuse such a great ride opportunity? Gradius looks at everyone. Then I'm in too. Sylvie looks at him amusedly. What are you agreeing to? We're going to Monster Mountain Range. You should obediently go home with whoever comes to pick you up. Gradius suddenly remembers. I have to go home. I have to go back to kill brown bears. That afternoon, Sylvie returns to new residence. Troy, how long do you think it'll take us to gather spirit wood in Monster Mountain Range? Hard to say, depends on luck. Some magical beasts also like spirit wood. They transplant it to hidden locations and hide it. Lucky people can find it in one day, while unlucky ones might not discover it for months. After hearing this, Sylvie gets a headache. Luck has never been kind to her. Little does she know this time will be a matter of life and death. Every time she goes out, she takes a roll of white cloth from the cabinet, cuts it into many small squares, and puts them in her pocket. This is because there's no toilet paper in this magical world. Most people use scraping sticks and leaves. She can only use cloth as a substitute, though it's quite wasteful. Sylvie silently vows that when she has her own territory, the first thing she'll do is invent paper. Sylvie also sews herself several pairs of underwear. People of this era wear nothing under their skirts for convenience when using the toilet. Today is December 20th. After finishing the last class in the morning, winter vacation officially begins. Sylvie calls all three, Theodore, Hall, and Laura, to new residence, having them stay overnight so everyone can depart together tomorrow morning. That evening, Sylvie packs her luggage. The food outside is terrible, so she has Bella bake lots of cookies and beef jerky, along with many small breads. She also brings some salt, honey, and spices, plus essential camping equipment. Everything is ready. At dawn the next day, Sylvie's belongings fill 3 large bundles, securely tied to the griffin's back. Griffin, this journey will be hard on you. The griffin nuzzles her shoulder with its head, making delicate chirping sounds. Sylvie says to Troy, I'll call them over. Check if we're missing anything. As soon as she leaves, Troy immediately looks at the griffin. Why do you chirp for her but roar at me? The griffin gives him a disdainful look. You look down on me? Did you forget who fed and clothed you? The griffin raises its front claw and kicks Troy away. Get lost! At dawn, the backyard of new residence echoes with several excited but suppressed voices. Hall and Theodore circle around the griffin, their eyes sparkling with excitement. Having a griffin as a mount is every man's ultimate dream. Even giant trolls and liches aren't exceptions. 5 people mount the griffin and fly southwest under the rising red sun. Monster Mountain Range is over 2,000 kilometers from Cyril. They fly all day and finally reach Monster Town. Let's rest here tonight and enter the mountains tomorrow.